The Opel Commodore C, produced from August 1977 to July 1982, was Opel's offering in the executive car segment, positioned between the Opel Rekord E and the Opel Senator A. It was a unique mixture between the Rekord E and Senator A and offered a station wagon for the first time since the introduction in the 1960s. The Commodore C was available in several body styles, including a 4-door sedan available throughout its whole lifetime between 1978 and 1982, and this was basically the most common version, designed for executives and families looking for a comfortable and spacious vehicle that was easy to access. And you also had a more base 2-door sedan between 1978 and 1982 yet again, and this basically was a 4-door sedan but just with 2 doors. And it was a little bit less common, and it was a slightly sportier alternative to the 4-door model. And you also had the 5-door station wagon called the Voyage, available between 1981 and 1982 in its last year of production. It was the first time a Commodore was available as a station wagon, and introduced in 1981, a year before the total production of the Commodore C ended. It was targeted at customers who needed extra cargo space while still wanting the 6-cylinder performance of the Commodore. The Commodore C featured a design that was both functional and elegant. Its exterior was characterized by clean lines and a streamlined profile, contributing to its aerodynamic efficiency. The car had a distinct design that combined elements of both the Opel Rekord E and the Senator A, making it a transitional model between the two. It was designed as an executive sedan, offering more refinement than the Rekord, but without the full luxury of the Senator. But why did the Commodore C look like a mixture of the Rekord E and Senator A? Opel strategically designed the Commodore C to share elements with both models for cost efficiency and market positioning. The front design from the Senator A gave it a more prestigious high-end look, making it visually distinct from the Rekord. And the rear design of the Rekord E helped reduce production costs while maintaining familiarity for Opel customers. Since the Commodore C was meant to be a bridge between the Rekord and Senator, this hybrid design approach allowed Opel to reduce development costs by using existing body panels of the Rekord E and Senator A, offer an upscale alternative to the Rekord without competing too closely with the Senator, and maintain a consistent Opel design language across the lineup. Inside, the Commodore C offered a spacious cabin with comfortable seating for up to 5 passengers. The dashboard was designed with driver ergonomics in mind, featuring easily accessible controls and clear instrumentation. High quality materials were used throughout the interior, enhancing the overall sense of refinement. The Commodore C, just as basically always, was only available with 6-cylinder engines, and unlike its predecessor, it did not offer high-performance GSE or GS models. The 2.5e version was the most powerful and refined option, thanks to Bosch L-Jetronic fuel injection, which improved both performance and efficiency. And the Commodore C was equipped with 2 inline-6 engines. A carbureted 2.5S version, available between the production period between 1978 and 1982. This had 115 horsepower and 176 Nm of torque, giving the car a decent top speed of 180 km an hour and a 0 to 100 time actually quite modest of 11.5 seconds, but the fuel efficiency whatsoever was actually quite horrible, at 11.4 liters per 100 km. You also had the 2.5 with the injection called the 2.5e, also available from the start off since 1978 up until 1982, and this had more power at 130 horsepower and 185 Nm of torque, also giving the car a better top speed of 190 km an hour while still having a quite modest 0 to 100 time of 11 seconds. Fuel efficiency wise, it wasn't also that great as well, with 11 liters per 100 km, and both engines were paired with standard 4-speed manual transmissions, and optional transmissions included an overdrive system as a 5-speed manual, later introduced around 1980 and available for the 2.5S, or a 3-speed automatic. The 3-speed automatic worsened the 0 to 100 times by around 1.5 seconds and also decreased the top speed by 5 km an hour. And the 5-speed manual gave the same specs but decreased the fuel consumption by around 0.1 liters per 100 km. Also, the Voyage was a bit slower due to its heavier weight and bigger dimensions, as the top speed decreased by around 3 km an hour on each top speed, and also the 0 to 100 time worsened by around 1 second for each engine. In comparison to the Commodore C, the Commodore B had a broader engine range, including a 2.5 and multiple 2.8 liter 6-cylinder variants, with both carbureted and fuel-injected versions. However, with the Commodore C, Opel simplified the lineup by offering only 2.5 liter engines, the Super Petrol and electronic fuel-injected engines, and the Commodore C was simply positioned as a step above the Opel Rekord E, which mainly used 4-cylinder engines. Meanwhile, the Opel Senator A was introduced in the same year, in 1977, as Opel's new premium offering, featuring more powerful 6-cylinder engines, including a 2.8 liter and 3 liter, which earlier was used in the 2.8 liter Commodore B. Since the Senator A took over Opel's luxury flagship, it made sense for Opel to remove the larger and more powerful engines from the Commodore lineup, preventing overlap between the models. While the Commodore C primarily focused on delivering a balanced blend of performance and comfort, specific details about special editions are quite limited. Opel offered different trims like the base and more luxurious Luxus or Bellina with many more options. The Commodore C, however, just like the Commodore B, was available in other markets than only in Europe. This time yet again being available in South Africa as well, with a new Chevrolet Commodore. But this time also being available in the UK as the Vauxhall Viceroy and as the Holden Commodore in Australia and New Zealand. In the UK, Opel models were often rebadged as Vauxhalls, and the Commodore C was no exception. However, instead of keeping the Commodore name, it was sold as the Vauxhall Viceroy between 1980 and 1982. This car was essentially a right-hand drive version of the Commodore C, but featured some minor UK-specific adjustments, such as the Vauxhall badging and slight interior modifications. In Britain, large 6-cylinder executive cars were typically dominated by brands like Ford's Granada or Jaguar, making it difficult for the Viceroy to establish itself. And eventually, due to the low demand, only a small number of Viceroys were sold, making it one of the rarest Vauxhall models of the era. Between October 1980 and July 1982, it sold a low amount of just 2,299 units. The Holden Commodore used the chassis of the Opel Commodore up until 1988, with bigger engines and some reinforcement for Australia's harsh roads. It was called Model VB up until 1982, and basically this generation was the one-on-one copy of the Opel Commodore. But later models of the Holden Commodore, you can actually still see the design language of the Opel Commodore C in, up until around 1988 I reckon. Holden therefore reinforced the body, redesigned the suspension and offered engines ranging from 2.8 liters to 5 liters, with a V8 or a V6 to suit local requirements. And unlike the Viceroy, which filled as a 4-door sedan with a 2.5 liter 6-cylinder engine, the VB Holden Commodore was a success as a sedan and station wagon, laying the foundation for later models in the Commodore series. And in contrary to the Vauxhall Viceroy, the Holden Commodore actually was a great success. Just like with the Commodore B, in South Africa the Commodore C was available yet again. And in South Africa, Opel models were often rebranded as Chevrolets due to General Motors' strong presence in the region. Instead of being sold as the Opel Commodore C, it was rebadged as the Chevrolet Commodore. And it was identical in design and mechanics to the Opel Commodore C, but with Chevrolet branding and some unique trim options. The South African market had a preference for larger, more powerful sedans, which meant that the Chevrolet Commodore faced competition from both local and imported American cars. The production numbers, however, were quite low, and after GM phased out Chevrolet from the South African market in the mid-1980s, these models became extremely rare. The Chevrolet Commodore reached a production of 3,648 units in South Africa in 10 months, and it was marketed in South Africa under the Chevrolet brand and was based on the German-made Opel Commodore. In terms of equipment, the Commodore C was similar to its German counterpart, but differed in engines, As in the South African model, a 3.8 liter or a 4.1 liter inline 6 engine was used. And from 1983, basically the year that the Commodore C wasn't available in Europe anymore, and onwards, the Commodore C2 was developed based on the Opel Rekord E2, the facelift of the Rekord, a model that was not available as the Commodore in Europe. It received the front end of the Opel Senator A2, the facelift of the Senator, but was otherwise largely identical to the Opel Rekord E2. The Commodore C2, now marketed as an Opel, was powered by the 3-liter 30E engine, which was an fuel-injected engine, which was in Europe exclusively used in the Senator and the Opel Monza. In the executive car market, the Commodore C faced competition from several notable models, such as the BMW 5 Series E12, which was known for its dynamic driving characteristics and build quality, as well as the Mercedes-Benz W123, celebrated for its durability and engineering excellence, as well as in the UK for the Ford Granada, offered a range of engines and was popular among business users. Predecessor-wise, it was quite simple. The predecessor was the Commodore B, produced from 1972 to 1977, and it laid the foundation with its 6-cylinder engines and solid performance. And successor-wise, it was a bit more difficult, as the Commodore C did not have a direct successor. Instead, its market position was absorbed by models like the Opel Senator A, which offered a broader range of engines, including a 2.5 liter variant as well, and more advanced features. Thank you for watching this video. If you would like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. And if you're interested, please send a super thanks on this video or become a member on my channel. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Don't forget to check out this playlist with many interesting videos covering various parts of the automotive industry, and I will see you in the next video.